Back to the work. So with Simon Craig and Ruth Jones. You go through all the mixture stuff here. It's pretty quick. I get a motion on the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve. All second. All in favor? Aye. Claims. I get a motion to approve the claims. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Report of collections. Make a motion. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Knowledge favor bank reconciliation. I'll make a motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Library appointment for Virginia Courting. I'll make a motion to accept Virginia. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. 3-0. Well, the additionals coming out of the HFI funding. We discussed this last week and a few weeks ago in our meeting. It's not an addition. Well, it says additional, but it's in. Jimmy already has the money. So,
people are writing for it, so they're not classified as an individual, transfer.
Yeah. That's for the part-time. That's for the part-timers. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'll make that motion. Oh, second. In favor? Aye. Aye. All right, we'll move to department heads. Whoever wants to stick to first. I'll go first. Are you guys? Just a couple of few things. I mentioned in the last calendar commission meeting I had one here at the council meeting last week. We had an employee sat down, an EMT sat down. We had COVID spot. We will start on Wednesday, this Wednesday. We had an issue with one of the ambulances. I think we got it fixed. We got in trouble with the DEF system and we ended up having to go to Fort dealership, be flashed, got that fixed. The renewal, we're having some issues with that right now. The company that has it on safety, they're losing employees, so it's long delay. I thought the bot was going to the body shop in March, and I think it just went last week. So hopefully once he gets there and back, we'll be able to get that truck soon. So questions that you see are doing very well. Run number for the payment number, we're staying around 185 to 200 a month still. Catalina has just finished a certified ambulance coder class, so that'll help a lot with coding. And then Jeff and myself and her will be taking ambulance documentation class too, which is part of things that we've learned that will help with billing and making sure that we have our I's dotted and T's crossed on the bill. So, other than that, that's really all I have on the ambulance side. Yeah, I don't have everything. Okay, so I don't have any questions. I was on Zoom last week, but you guys any questions for me? Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
So just with the commissioners instead of the council, we would like to use 2,000 from our HFI funds to give her to pay our part-time nurse. So we have, I think, a month or two ago. We want to keep her until the end of the year. So we just need your approval to use the funds for that.
Would you like to go ahead and approve that at this meeting? Or would you like an opportunity to think over it?
Have you open the council?
We're not, I'm sure, this is working, so.
I'm just asking a question.
Taking that out, the rest of the local,
Neither one. It's out of the HFI.
Which.
It'll take out of the community
Of
grant.
which there was from the state, right?
Yes.
Not the taxpayers. Okay.
So we'll need to wait until, okay. The other thing is, at Red Implemented on April 25th on Friday, Rochelle from Franciscan Health is gonna be there. And she is doing a sign up for those on the park schemes that we have, for our county residents. So if you want to just go there and sign up, she's gonna be there from 8:30 to 5. If you have any questions, you can call us or you can either show up at Fred with Zoom, sign up. Anything?
Our community problems are already planning on getting started. May 1st, we'll start on Schoolhouse Road and then we move to 800 South. It should take them a couple weeks to finish, while somebody be doing that for us. For the commissioners, they don't go drain down on King Road. Robert, going to stop there with that. Did you guys have any questions on the emails that were sent back and forth? Would you like for us to dredge that out? How would you like to move forward with funding for
Hey, Tim, I think we all agree if we can get it out first and see if that fixes it, that'd probably be the cheapest way to do it, then we can go from there. So see if that fixes it and go from there.
that? Okay. We'll get that into our schedule once. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Public comments. Anybody have any questions on this? We'll go right into the next one. Yeah, Carol.
Any kind of questions or is it going to hearing one?
Yeah.
I'd like to know when the Stringtown Road is going to be finished. Near the bridge.
We're planning on doing that this summer.
No exact date. Okay. And the claims amount, that's not on my agenda. How much was it?
Yeah, 600,000, right? $657,000, $20.29.
And were they sent up for public review?
No, they can be.
Okay. And the Lemon Hard thing that the health department was talking about, that, for those people that smoke.
The lung screening?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not have any stuff.
Like to take it up. All right. Yeah, I'll check this one, then talk next one. So, okay, making a motion, to start with close. Commissioner Community. I'll make a motion. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Yes. It's kind of, we join me for Zooming.
County Council and County Commissioners.
Yeah, yeah, I think we'll just get them.
That's how many questions for the department heads.
You kind of pop it out. Do you want to say anything else? We send it to the line around. The Department of Vision.
So. When we talked about, last time that was suggested, maybe we should get a bid, right here, on the replacement, and so we did that. And then also the very smart carpet people said, are you going to repair your walls? Because if you're going to repair your walls, you should do that before you get new carpet, which makes sense to me. And so it's kind of like chasing our tail. I don't care where the board is on the order of priority. I'm sure there are other places that need fixing more than the court offices, but I did go ahead and take back and get an estimate on. Some of you may remember we had in the hallway all of that wallpaper peeled off. About the same time that my ceiling on my office fell in, we took all the wallpaper off because it was keeping. And so it's starting to do the same thing in the court office. And so I got an estimate for all the court offices and fixing the one really bad wall in the jury room, which I have money in the jury fund to fix that wall. We've already replaced the carpet in there, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I'm just looking for some items for me all on, and somebody, Kelly and Aaron suggested I just come to the joint meeting. Do you want me to just get the carpet cleaned?
Well, we had this discussion at our meeting that if you move it as threadbare as it is, then it would probably disintegrate that carpet.
That's what the engineers told me is that they would be a caveat on their bid that they weren't responsible for any damage. That's something on there, so. But it is pretty standard in some places, especially particularly in the courtroom, we can handle it in the office, but it just needs cleaning. So.
So their suggestion was to do the walls prior to doing the carpet because they were afraid that
the texture and the repair on the walls is just going to not be good.
Did you get a vote to repair the walls?
Yes. 25,600, and that's for now. That's what I said. That's for taking down all of the wallpaper in all of the court offices and the jury room. And when I say court offices, I mean the court reporter's office, the court bailiff, and the rest of everything back in the day got wallpaper, and it'll be made this is why the walls disintegrate because it keeps the moisture in. Masonry walls, and so they need to breathe. It keeps the moisture in, and so that's why they're constantly shedding, as they call it, underneath the wallpaper. So
we all know what would happen potentially if you were in that wallpaper. You're probably going to take plaster with it.
yes, and it was a great job on my office when the ceiling fell there. They did a really good job on it, and I've not had any problems with it since. And they did that hallway right there leading up to the court bailiff's office. And outside of the three levels where we had a leak, it's done really well. So I leave it cheap as well.
It's carpet.
Pardon me?
What's carpet?
The bedroom, the court offices.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So because we were able to put in this, when we carpeted the probation and a couple of those offices in the jury room. Then we needed to buy, I didn't have the foresight to buy enough extra, we bought some extra, and now they don't make it anymore. I think I was looking at the same pattern that you all got. Yeah. And so Mr. Romer suggested, hey, if you want to like this pattern, buy 5 or 6, they call it attic pieces, and keep it in the attic. So that's what we got on as well.
Is this for the clerk's office also?
On the carpet,
Yes.
I believe there's maybe 3 different things in there. I'm sorry that I'll have it here.
I can find it. It's 10. That's good. That's the second.
But there's a yeah.
I think it did.
I think the original quote from Tim had that on there, and I'm happy to get other quotes from other carpet companies. That's just historically who the courthouses use. So that's why. Does it have it on there, Tim?
Yeah. Fort Rooney Bailiff's office and Fort Reporter's office.
So it doesn't include the clerk.
It doesn't include the clerk.
Next,
And I
just a
just-
second.
Yeah.
It's 2 there. Yeah. Yeah, so there were 3 pages, but yeah, 112. Because he's, and then I told her my habits, because she was gonna come talk to you all about.
So it does not include.
No. Sorry, you're not, part of the problem, the unknown is that there's those tile underneath, which should be unnamed. And when they did the carpet in the jury room, it went really well, and none of it disintegrated and it was not a problem. When they did the carpet in my office, it didn't go as well. There were a few that they had to. Just not something. So.
What they just did in there, it went fast. It was.
And you said,
Really, I was about to say, whatever you ordered, I just had them put that in there.
Yeah.
So they have extra too.
I had no idea.
Well,
Yeah, I would like now,
that way it's all the same.
yeah, that's what we're.
So we will have a figure for the clerk's office as well. We're going to do.
I
Then
can ask her.
as well.
Okay.
I think it was in there. If not, he's already done it. I can forward it to you all. If I, but now it's my.
You told me that she, they had.
He's in it, she. And it was all done, but, and I think she, and I can't speak for her certainly, but she's gonna have the same question. I think where she is, they're throwing in the water. I will report to you that, you're very generously, offered to pay for, and the court has some, a fund, so we're gonna do the on the bottom of those, the security, so we don't need to talk to you about that. Yeah, that's fine, as long as you all are good with it, the security committee recommended it, so. And then the same for the screens. Got money for that, so we're good there, so I'm gonna ask for that. So it's not something I have to answer tonight, I just,
Is the prosecutor's office going to change or?
is the possibility of extension.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a lot of, I don't know, yeah. That we should have been.
I just heard.
And Patty came to our meeting and was open to that change. Yeah.
And that will work, except Abby she won't be able to just be in the prosecutor's office. I mean, she'll
She'll
have to
have to
have
have.
EMA, public access. That's just not big enough. So, but I think the clerk's office is too large for prosecutor, especially if they talk about going across the back of your courtroom.
If we ever did that, I think we could make that into conference rooms for the attorneys and maybe an extra office or something there where they take depositions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or offer it up to any, there's those back offices, and I can't speak for the prosecutor, but there's a couple of back offices, as you know, that can easily be divided off and utilized by other people. There's doors there. Other departments.
Okay, so let's recap. You're thinking the clerk carpet included, you're talking more closer to 15,000. I kind of want to keep it on the charge in that.
See, I think the all of they just got, but
I mean, yeah, I'll type it.
I'm sorry, I wasn't on me. But she has a big area. Now, some of that for the carpet obviously is the courtroom and then the court offices. And Patty, she has a big area. But she just wanted to put carpet down where carpet already was. She wasn't trying to carpet any, I don't want to speak for her, but.
Okay, so it's 23.5 for the walls, roughly. 26. And then 1,700, so now you're talking 27.2. And then you're talking at least another 10.5, so you're talking closer. 37.7.
And I'm not necessarily, I mean, this is, well, to me, it's a big decision, it's a large expenditure. But I did talk to Craig Pratt today on the walls, and he said they could get to it to the summer. I just have to forecast out as far as the court would be closed to be operating someplace else. And is really,
So sooner than better for you on a decision so you can plan your court accordingly.
Ethan was reminded that I'm in there, so. Yes, yeah, I mean, he said it would take probably 2 weeks, and so, a week of that would be the courtroom. Yeah, And we can go to that one if we need to, but I just need to make sure that you're in those.
I think the walls need to be fixed before you put new carpet.
Mhm.
But I would also like to see another quote.
Besides straight ground.
Yes.
What about on the carpet?
I would at least 2 quotes on everything. Just give it one.
It's a good way to audit somebody.
Mhm.
And I'm fine with that. I don't know who else will do the walls. That's what we're ready to.
They're all that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no one else that will do it in the end.
We spent,
Right.
no, I don't want to say loyalty, but I don't know, whatever. Brandon just said that before. And that's who got, and I think that's who you guys got your.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I like the fact of using somebody local, so that way if there is an issue here. I just like to see them quote, just to,
sure. If you'll just tell me who you get it from, I'm happy to.
And there, even if we buy some carpet from.
Well, I can give you that. I'm fine with that. That's not a problem. It's the wall. I don't know.
Right,
who else.
okay.
yeah.
Does the wall repair include air and vapor barrier behind that, so this doesn't continue to happen in the future?
It's lab, help me out here, Tim. It's lab.
Once you take the paper off, it breathes fine, the plaster will breathe fine.
Mhm.
So it's permeable then?
Not at all, not a bubbling, not anything. And in the hallway, the only, you know how we have those pans upstairs with the air conditioners. That's the only place in that hall that it's bubbling, is where the timber brick had those problems. Otherwise, it's been great.
There's a fellow that works, has done an awful lot of work for the bank, in all branches, in taking off and repairing, taking off wallpaper and repairing things.
Are they plaster?
They've been, about even so far, it's been working on right up, so I can't tell you for sure because it's drywall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's drywall.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that. We had a couple of drywall people come in before and
I personally want someone in here that knows their craft,
it's not me, it's on.
but
And if you want to read that name, I'm happy to call them to see if they're interested.
Is that company the one that did your office?
Great craft. Yeah,
Because it did. Nice.
so,
well, I mean, we could move on the carpet bed and table the walls to our next meeting.
well, I'd like to know
Separate.
the clerks is.
Right.
That's separate.
Yes,
I'll look, I'll go here and sit down and look at that estimate and see, because I'm almost positive he's to be clerk, and then I can just forward it on to him. That, you know, that's, I can't speak for that.
Sure. Here. Mhm.
Well, it sounds like we're all tabling it,
Yes.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so then I'll at least give them a call and see if
Okay.
there's something there, if anybody else can come up with anything.
We'll table until our next meeting.
Take it out.
All right, is your next meeting a joint meeting?
No,
When's the next joint meeting?
It would be your second meeting, so it would be
Your meeting last month.
20th, right?
somewhere in there.
Yes. 19th.
All right. So
Monday, 19th.
is it then?
Sure.
Okay, I can get everything up.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you.
I think it's sent me to it.
Did you get it?
Yes, between 6,300 and 7,300, depending on the times.
That's just for the carpet in the clerk's room?
That's for the carpet for the clerk's room while he's in transition from the labor.
So just so I'm clear, you would like another placement on the carpet and more other contractors for the wall. Yep, okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
That's it.
Formally move the table that, since it was on the agenda.
Yeah. Can I get a motion to table?
I'll say it.
All in favor? Aye. Window Genie of Lafayette, a quote was made by Window Genie of Lafayette for $4,447.30.
She has that.
She said that she
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
it.
He's already had, so
Yeah.
And so we don't need to do.
Yeah, we don't.
we don't need to move.
They have it in their budget, they don't pay for all of it. Yeah, the prosecutor's gonna pay for it, so.
So do we need to,
Well, I thought the estimate was 4,400
Then,
and Dan's only gonna.
do we need to make a motion just, because
2,500.
we're making changes to this
yeah, but I
building?
think he ended up.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They're paying it out of money they already have, right?
Right.
Yeah, move on.
So we don't need to move on this.
Yeah.
Sure, if they show up with a contract or something, the commissioner can deal with it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took an old note, so.
Mr. Schmidt. Yeah, Jason.
I'm sorry, could I? Or the council, something real, I didn't grab the agenda for, I just grabbed the joint agenda, so I asked the council something real quick.
Yes.
I've had some employees over the department asking about longevity. And I wanted to know where we stood with that, if it's a department. By department basis or. What was the plan? I have 9 employees that are available for the longevity pay. So I don't.
Definitely, I think you and I talked about that.
Yes,
Yeah, we.
Kelly and I talked, I looked through my notes were when we gave the raise.
Right.
It's just that year we weren't going to do longevity, but then after that, the longevity went back into effect.
Like I said, some employees are just asking me to have a couple of their outputs, so I just. I want to ask.
We have it. It'll be on the next check.
Okay, no problem. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Well, and what you're here, the roads are on the community crossings, they are gonna have the white lines on the outside.
I will assume.
Okay, but no yellow lines, okay. Cause I've been seeing a lot of comments about, and I really thought we were doing yellow lines also beside the white lines.
It also is just, it's a lot of cost. We kind of. In the grant that we did, it eats up a lot of cost.
Hey, Jake, his longevity was on this last check last Friday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Took it off your pay.
That's fine.
All right. Mr. Schmidt.
I'm Henry Schmidt with Fabric County Arts Council, Mr. Carol Breeze at Arts Council. First thing we've been involved with the restoration of the Catesville Covered Bridge, which we feel is finished now. We just put up a historic sign near the entrance of the bridge this weekend. We want to thank Jason Lewis, his department, helped us move some rocks so vehicles can't go through. It's just a walking bridge, and I put some white stone down at the entrance, so we're very appreciative of that. On June the 8th, we'd like to have an appreciation ceremony at the bridge, Sunday, June 8th, 2 to 4. We'd have some free snack for interested people, and donors and county officials. Have a couple of speakers. The property owner to the south of the bridge, Ellen Rainey, has already said we can use her barnyard for parking to keep the road clear. So I guess since the county owns the bridge, we'd like permission to have a ceremony there, and maybe 75 to 100 people might be there.
Make a motion to approve. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the ceremony.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Appreciate it. The other thing is, in Carol's Antique Shop, there is a 10-foot long by 2-foot wide 5/8" scale model of the Catesville Covered Bridge, and we wondered if we could put it on the floor for display down by where the entrance is to the metal detector.
Temporarily or all the time?
Well, if we could find a better place for it, we might move it, but it could be for a long time.
The only issues would be it's right along the security thing. If they get in a fight with somebody, you know, have to,
Yeah.
they could knock it over or whatever, be the only thing I could see, but Henry said it's heavy enough where you shouldn't be able to knock it over, but
It's on its own table.
that'd be the only thing I'd see.
Is there,
It's heavy, but I mean, if it's knocked over. You just have to back up, but takes two people to move the bridge. Plus the abutments take another two people, so it's a heavy thing.
Bill didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
He was down there.
that's,
Well, we appreciate it.
Hope you all come to the party. Well, we're talking about celebrations, and this is the second time I think I've mentioned it to you that next year in 2026, there's the 250th birthday of the United States. It's also coincides with the 200th birthday of Fountain County. So we've set a date of celebration, July 4th for the 250th here in Covington, primarily at the park, and with extended displays and participation. But the biggest event will be the 200th birthday, which is at May the 2nd at the fairgrounds from 9 until 4 o'clock. And it will be a really big, fantastic display. We've had participation from all of the townships. And we're hoping now, and we're obviously in need of some financial assistance. So, like everybody else, I'm asking for money. Sorry. I'll pass these out. To save a tree, I didn't make enough copies. I didn't know how many people would be here, but that's essentially the event. And I think it'll be really very lovely for Fountain County. I'm acting as a county historian, and we've been meeting on the third Thursday of every month. We've been meeting since last July, making plans, and I'm really excited about it, and I think a lot of people within the council are excited, and we have some great things planned, so hope you all will come and participate, and if you can help us financially, that would be wonderful. I don't ask for a number at this point, but before too long, we'll have to start coming up with a firm budget to move forward. I don't know if you noticed, but we've already started the celebration because the actual kickoff was last Friday when it was Paul Revere's ride. I did not arrange for a horse and Paul Revere to go through the county, but we did have lights in the courthouse, the north windows, one if I land and two if I see, if you remember Longfellow's poem. Anyway, it's kind of exciting. Some people noticed.
Carol,
Yeah.
you can tell them that I told you they'd probably want to give about 50,000 for the celebration. I'm one of the chairs of the committee. And it's gonna be really nice. We don't need a whole lot of money, but, 5 or 10,000 would go a long way towards the celebration.
I was afraid to mention a number. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
You can let us know, and I'll be back. I'm sure.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol.
Thanks, Carol. All right, let's move on to USI. Good evening.
I am Katie Reichert from USI Consultants, and I have with me Michael Rosal. He is the president of USI Consultants. I came to one of the March commissioners meetings and spoke. We are your bridge consultant for your countywide bridge inspection and inventory. And we have been that consultant for 4 years. It's a 4-year cycle and have just recently been reselected to do your next cycle that starts in 2026. So thank you for that. But as part of that process, we put together bridge improvement plans for our clients, which outlines as a result of our inspection where the greatest need for bridge projects is and tries to then identify potential sources of funding for those projects. We have brought the latest bridge improvement plan with us. It was last updated a couple of years ago. It's updated every couple of years. So it's about due for another update. And we wanted to chat with you guys before making that update. So the intention tonight is just kind of to go through the process and purpose of the bridge improvement plan, get perspective from all of you, and then we can make our next update. But I don't.
So with that going around, the latest improvement plan, we did that. I think the first one we did for you was in 21 or 22. This one's dated 2023, so it hasn't been updated in a couple of years. We try not to update it every year. We stay on the plan, but it does definitely need to be updated again. With that, what you're looking at, the first page with the table on it, it's basically what Jason, the highway, we sit down with them every 2 years because we do your bridge inspections every 2 years, which is federal law. And when we develop these plans, we kind of go by that bridge inspection book. I don't know if you've ever looked into the county bridge inspection books. We have 141 bridges in the county, which is probably average for the state. Marion County has 540 some, they're the biggest. And I think a few counties have less than 50. So you're somewhere in the middle as far as bridge lengths go.
You said 141?
141 bridges in the county for the last bridge inspection book. Right now you have 6 bridges on your replacement list and 10 on your rehabilitation list, which is pretty good. I've got counties that have 30 bridges on the replacement list, and some big numbers. And you'll see also this one here. This is what comes out of the bridge inspection book. We call it the priority list. You'll see at the top the category 1 are the 6 bridges that need replaced, and the second one is 10 bridges that should have some rehabilitation to them. And by real rehabilitation, we mean either replacing the superstructure and saving the bridge piers and indent, or it could be an overlay of the deck that's falling apart. Rehabilitation kind of encompasses a lot of things. Right now, you're not doing any preservation, still in the replacement and rehab mode. But at some point, I discussed with Jason, probably should start doing some preservation. We always like to say, you take care of your trucks and your buildings, but we really don't take care of our bridges. We throw them out there and expect them to last forever, right? And some of them have lasted hundreds of years. Unfortunately, you have quite a few historic bridges. And I say unfortunately, but you might look at that as fortunately, because they are beautiful bridges, a lot of iron trusses, but they're very expensive to deal with. And a lot of them are what we call select bridges. So you have select and non-select when it comes to historic bridges. Select bridges are protected. Probably can't replace those bridges. Like the Cades Mill Bridge, you bypassed that years ago because no one wanted to replace it. Nowadays, you can't get permits unless you study them and prove that they should be replaced. And even then, you almost have to relocate them to a trail or something like that. It gets very expensive. So those are on, some of those are on your rehabilitation list. And I don't know who got my highlighter there. Sorry. So right now you have 5 bridges on your rehabilitation list. So bridge number 151, 66, 143, 5, and 131 are select bridges, which means you can't replace them. So you have to rehab them or bypass them. And there's some different things you can do with those. And
66 and 5 are in design right now.
yeah. So 66 is right next to the highway garage, that little pony truck there. That is a federal aid project. And what was the other one?
5.
Number 5. So we are doing some work on those as well. We're trying to work those into the program.
Excuse me, I'm still 105 is under design now, not 5.
So right now you're working on 5, or Jason's working on 5 bridges. Number 105, which is at the top of your replacement priority. 103, 202, 66, and 143 are all being worked on off your rehabilitation list. So right now you got 5 of your 16 bridges in the work. Some of those are a few years out. If you're not familiar with federal aid projects, you submit. If we submitted on a project this year, it wouldn't get built for 6 or 7 years. It's just the process that you go through. Very expensive, a lot of federal requirements that you have to go by, a lot of submissions to NDOT. You have to do all the proper channels. So engineering anymore on a federal aid bridge replacement projects in the $300,000 to $500,000 range, just for the engineering. Then you have to build the bridge. So the county has to pay 20% of that cost, and 20% of the PE cost. And you also have to pay 20% of the construction inspection costs. And you have to have full-time inspection. So the numbers are probably 3 to 4 times what it costs to do a federal aid or a locally funded bridge. But you get 80% of that back. So it makes sense to do your bigger bridges that way. I've always been under the assumption that if it's not $1 million bridge, you could probably do it less expensively with local funds. There's also a new category of funding, and we were talking about it earlier, and that's community crossings and action grant. You can use CCMG for bridge replacement, for bridge rehab, and you can also do small structure replacements with CCMG. Right now, the highway department's in the paving mode, and I think Jason wants to keep doing that for a few years now. So you can get some of your roads up to speed, and then maybe start looking at some bridge projects as part of that. If you've been following the legislature this year, the highway bill passed this past week. The governor hasn't signed it quite yet, but I'm assuming he will sign that. They've cut that program probably in half for locals like yourself. They used to give out over $200 million a year, and that's going down to 100. So that's going to get harder and harder to get. You're really going to have to tie your CCMG projects to some kind of economic development, which out in the rural part of the county, how do you do that? So that's still a question we're trying to ask. But I think you can get creative on that, and we can introduce that. Because the rural communities still need the nice roads, the fields, and the drains in. Just keep that in mind that you really should start thinking a little harder about what CCMG projects you want to do, but you're going to get a little better than you. I guess that's all I really had. I'm more than happy to answer questions, talk about certain bridges. When we do your bridge inspections, we kind of prioritize things, and then I'll sit down with Jason and his team and listen to what his concerns are, because we don't know which roads are that important to you guys. So if you have thoughts on, this bridge is only posted 10 tons, like farmers are yelling at me, I can't get to my fields, that kind of thing. Let Jason know, and we can prioritize things like that. It's not always the worst bridge first, it's what's more important to you all. So your input's definitely appreciated. We're going to keep working the plan. I always tell people if we don't have a plan, I would answer anyone's question. So it's nice to have a plan in front of you. Several of my counties, they go by the plan religiously. So every year, we have 3 bridges coming up, we're going to have to approve this amount, you can do your budgets a lot earlier. And when someone calls in and says, when are you going to work on our bridge, you can pull out a plan and say, here's our plan. I think it also helps you with your liability concerns. Because if you just ignore something, you're negligent. Whereas if you have a plan, you can say, we just don't have the money to do all this at once. So I would recommend adopting this plan at a board meeting sometime. And when we get a new plan together, I can come and present that to you and do something like that.
I'm noticing that there's 2 bridges, correct me if I'm wrong, I have bold eyes. Bridge number 110 is slated for construction year of 2028. And as is bridge number 202.
And what's your question?
My question is, what if we don't have the funding to do 2 bridges in 1 year?
Well, if you look at this plan, why we do these plans to begin with is so at the bottom line, you don't go into the red. And you can see when we made this plan, you went into the red in 2024. So what that means is all those costs you see up above are the individual bridge costs, add them up, subtract what you have in your King Bridge account and the receipts you get each year into the King Bridge. And that's what the bottom line is telling you, how much money you have left at the end of the year if these costs are accurate. So when we first do these things, we do them by need, and then we pare them back for the funds that you have. So you can see what your true need is first, and do we need to go these community crossings? Should we go after more federal aid? Do we have to close bridges because we don't have to? You know, it takes that sometimes. I had a client that I didn't want to spend any money on bridges, and eventually I said, "You got to close these bridges." And there were 3 or 4 bridges that got closed, and they ended up having more money. So sometimes it takes that. But I think when we first did this, it was more, let's look at the needs and then adjust it later for what the funding is. So right now, the bridges that are in the system, we've determined with Jason's help that you do have the funding for those bridges. We just need to update the plan and make sure of that. But as you can see, you know, if you went by this plan, you're $6 million in the hole by 2030. So that's the true need that's out there. And don't go crazy that the bridges are going to fall down. A lot of them would never fall down, but they're, you know, narrow for today's traffic. They don't have the proper bridge rails, so they're not safe. So that's some of the things we look at when we do bridge inspection. It's our job to tell you what you should have out there to be totally up to standards. No one's totally up to standards. There's just not the money out there. But that's why I also say you should probably adopt a plan so that you are covered as far as negligence and liability go. And just show everyone that you just can't fix everything. That's the reality that's out there today.
Well, we appreciate your time and effort in preparing this for us.
Yeah, and we appreciate doing the work for you. So, that's part of our job.
Couple of questions here. Yeah, I'm looking at the budget. We budgeted money for bridge 202 and 66. The third and fifth on the 10. But what about bridge 105?
105 is in design right now, as well as 66 and 202. 66 and 202 are both federal aid bridges, so those are the ones that take 5 to 6 years to develop before they go to construction. So those are in process, and 105 is one of the other bridges that Jason we just got started on within the last month or so.
So it will not, you're suggested this is not the year that it's suggested to be replaced. It's the year you're doing the design.
Locally funded design can get done much faster than federal aid funding. So the target is to get that designed this year with the ability to go to construction as soon as next year.
And like I said, this plan is not up to date with what's going on right now. This is what we put together originally in 2023. So it does need updated, and it will show that on the new plan.
Okay, yeah, I see in the 2023, bridge 105 was construction in 2024. Now it's on here for 2025, and that means it's
A little bit, but it's in process.
okay. And I mean, I noticed, I mean, we started the year with $1.8 million in the bridge fund, and we only budgeted $1.4 million this year, so we got $400,000, so it'd be used on.
And I would say that's a good number to keep in there, because you never know when an emergency is going to pop up. You know, any bridge these days is $500,000 before you start doing stuff. So, if you don't have $500,000 sitting around, in case something happens, you're ending up closing bridges. So I would always keep a nice little buffer there, and that's something we'll try to work into the plan. But yeah, price. You should always have some money there.
Hey, where's Weaver Road?
Weaver Road. Weaver Road.
I don't either, but it's here.
You know what bridge number?
11. I know about all the roads, and I never heard of Weaver.
And it may have been in the inventory that way for years, so. D3.
The last one is rehabilitation.
This map says Kingman Road, north of 800 south.
Okay.
they want to.
Kind of, yeah.
Just keep the road.
Yeah.
We run into that sometimes, what's in like the
So
impact
boom,
inventory
yeah.
doesn't match what the county refers to the road as, so that happens.
Okay.
I just have a question on the Big Shawnee Creek there. Location is Green Bay Road. We had a situation. They were doing some work on 341 on a bridge just north of Green Bay Road. The state of Indiana determined NDOT that Green Bay Road goes straight through from 341 to 41, and it does not. It dead ends. And they wanted to argue with a resident that lives on Green Bay Road that this road goes all the way through. They were doing a route around on Green Bay, and they went across the bridge on that road. It's a concrete, Jim, is it not?
Yeah.
And they have done damage to that road because they had semis, not just grain haulers.
Right.
Semis, car carriers going across that road, and that road is not, or that bridge is not rated for a semi with a full load of cars on it. Now, there's a resident that lives on that road that was very concerned about the quality of that bridge because it was a wonderful bridge before this all started. I don't know if anybody has looked at that bridge.
Kelly, yes, during our last inspection, they looked at that bridge.
Okay,
It was in June.
of last year.
Yeah.
So they
They also looked at it
afterwards.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just getting a question answered for a resident, so.
What did we determine? It was on it. Good. Yeah. That's something that typically NDOT, if they're not fixing an account or a state, they'll usually assign an unofficial detour route.
Oh, no, this was official, believe it or not.
Official.
And the lady that called me that lived on that road contacted the NDOT main office, and I assume Crawfordsville. I don't know where their headquarters are for this area now because it's changed. They told her because we never released it from the inventory because we closed that road, then it's still considered a straight through shot. So I don't know if there's truth or validity to that statement.
So is it open?
No. Oh, no. Yeah, there's no, I mean, you can't go through, there's grain bins down there.
Yeah.
And there's a house down there, but you can't go all the way through anymore.
I was just gonna say, they're usually pretty good about videoing the road before and after and paying for any damage, so. I guess we determined there wasn't any damage.
Yeah, so. I don't know, Mr. McKee lives on that road, he can tell you, and there's another gentleman that lives on that road, and I believe he said during the process of this whole thing, his camera caught 14,000 vehicles go down that road. So.
Yeah.
We tend to run into that too, like when we're helping with community crossings of making sure that your road inventory is accurate so that stuff like that doesn't happen. So
right.
We can work with you on your inventory if that hasn't been done yet.
Well, we appreciate your presentation and the information.
Yes, bridge is certainly one of the county's biggest assets, and so significant investment. We want to make sure that we're helping guide you in the way that makes sense. So if you have questions about anything, let us know. We meet and go through this in great detail with Jason and get his input. But thought it would be helpful to share with the group.
We appreciate it.
And I just didn't say, this other sheet is kind of how we put together the big spreadsheet. So that just shows kind of what the costs we've used. So like for a locally funded structure, we typically use $400 per square foot bridge deck. So we try to just use generalized numbers. Will that be the so the numbers you see in the yellow table, is that the actual numbers? No, it's our best guess based on years of experience on this. Federal aid, you'll notice, it's almost double the cost of doing a local project for all the standards you have to use.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to include that so you kind of see how we do this. Their general numbers are the numbers that go, the budget numbers basically, and high. Because we don't want to mislead you. So usually the project will come in under that, but there's something to plan by and see where you fall, as far as budgeting. I don't know one county that has enough money to fix all the bridges in the road, so if you feel like you're falling under water, you're not alone. I mean, it's just a situation we have in this country, where it's just not enough money to replace them, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll move on to the highway discussion. Jason, do you have anything to say as far as the new construction for the highway garage? This same?
Same, yeah. I'm ready to move forward with these guys talking, so.
Yep.
I know there's money appropriated for the park funds that we had last year that were signed over to the highway for that building. So we had a kind of a preliminary plan.
Yep.
I really don't have any extra.
That's fine. Yep.
I think the idea is that, we do have ARPA funds. We do have some invoicing from DES. And we find ourselves in a conundrum because I have looked at a webinar from Baker and Tilly, and I have the handouts, and I'm going to try and get the link so all of you can see the webinar as well, because they discuss SB1. And part of SB1's change is how they're going to do capital referendum requirements. So if we bond part of this expense for the highway building, and that is effective July 1 of this year, controlled projects must be added to a referendum ballot if non-exempt debt service rate for specific units is 0.25 or higher for city, county, and towns. I don't know if we fall under that non-exempt debt service tax rate or not for this building. But in order to go to referendum, it has to be done on an even year in the fall. And we have until the end of 26 to use ARPA funds. Now, they said in the webinar that there may be a possibility we could be grandfathered in. We have to speak to our financial advisor about that. I'm hoping that we can, just for the simple fact we're under a time constraint. So that brings me to the question with invoices from DES. Can we or can we not use ARPA funds for that, since the invoicing is on the county highway building? And Roger, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct, ma'am. We just need a path forward, whether we get continue with the design or not. With the time constraints, we need to get going on that. We have to get geotechnical done. We have to get architectural done, civil done, so we can get approvals. And I think if we need to get by 2026, we're burning time. We can still pull it off, but we're getting close. We need to pull the trigger or just follow it off and whichever way we see.
My intent is to have Jason Simler from Baker Tilly come and speak to us about SB1 as a joint meeting. I think it's important that the commissioners listen as well, so they know what we can do financially, and our decisions that we're going to be making could be something that they propose. So we have to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I think we've been doing well so far, working together, trying to make it better for everybody in the county. So I think if we can get Jason Simler to come down and speak to us, informational purposes only, allows us to ask questions. So we understand everything with SB1 going into budget hearing time. Would you all agree? Okay. That's my thoughts on the highway building. I want to move forward. I think it's important. It's just making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row for the financials to be able to do that.
So we got to do it regardless.
Yes.
So should we have Roger go ahead with his work and pay him out of that on fund?
If legally we can do that. I wouldn't think why we couldn't. I don't know if it falls under the bid process or not. Ethan, would you have any direction in that matter? Because this was done in 23, some of this.
If you can do the art funds to pay.
Yes.
I would say, yeah, so before you do that, I can look at it closer. But I'm shooting from the head on to say, yeah, why not?
You're saying we wouldn't need any bids for him to finish that?
To finish his quote.
Yeah.
I think the bidding process has more to do with the amount.
Okay.
What is it? Do we have a ballpark amount? Is it under 150 or is it under 50,000?
For his
His,
soft cost?
for his cost. I don't have the invoices in front of me. You do.
Roger, you were over $1 million, right?
That's what I thought.
For the engineering
All
part,
that.
For your,
For everything.
for the engineering, well, I reached back out to the 3 companies that gave us bids for the architectural work. One was 338,000, one was 170, and one was 123. I confirmed that they're still willing to hold that. The 338 said yes, the 170 said yes, and he's willing to negotiate down because he's also a builder, so he gets a chance to bid on the building. And the 123 was not confirmed. Now, we have made some changes with the layouts and everything else, so I don't know if they'll hold the 123. The engineering portion of it is about 80,000 with the geotechnical. So you're looking at a total of about maybe $200,000 to $150,000 for the engineering and architecture, which is a lot lower than what you typically, civil engineering is about 2.5% to 5% of the total project. That is about 350 or 170, between 175 and 300,000 for civil. I think we can accomplish it for about 80. Architecturals are anywhere between 7.5% to 15%. So you're looking about $700,000 for architectural. Or anywhere between 400 and 700. I think we can at least pull the 150 mark and get it done for that. So it's just a matter of, we have the 3 bids on the architectural. If we need 3 bids on the civil, we can ask for 3 bids on the civil. And I'll hold our cost for what it is, but I don't think anybody's gonna come close to that.
can you get 3 for civil? Thank you. Does that answer your question, Ethan?
Yes.
So we would. We can make it not have it in the other side.
Right.
Yeah, got you. Yes.
Don't wait on bids, right?
Okay.
Hi, Julie. We will discuss the Greenway and, well, we're just kind of bouncing all around. Julie, if you want to come up there and introduce yourself.
Good evening, I'm Julie Berry, I'm the director of manager. And I actually manage all the ready funds right now.
So do you guys have, what questions do you guys have for her?
My question, I think you addressed it in an email, but we're gonna get it on public record. We originally proposed 450. We were told at a meeting that the cost was gonna be less than what was anticipated. So we agreed to 225. We're holding pretty firm at 225. I know that you said that you would prefer the 450 as of the match, but we were then assured again that the project itself is not going to be the number that was originally proposed, and that would have given us our match at 450.
So you were awarded $475,000 in ready funds for that project. To date, there's a realized match. I confirmed with Dale White up to 23,701.94. He just confirmed today your private match, which was supposed to be 1.425 million. And he confirmed the Old Railroad Bridge, which was part of the trail. He had an estimate done on the cost of that, so we could use that as property match, and that came in at 1.57 million. So because of Mayor Crane's projects as well and Ready One, with Covington wastewater treatment plant and the Shadow subdivision, he went over in his 1-to-1 match. So you are actually fine now.
We're good with the 225. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Welcome.
That isn't going to compromise anything with Ready down the road.
As long as the realized match is committed and it's usually that's a cash match. And then your 3-to-1 private match, there's over 6 million, which really you're supposed to have 5.9 million.
Okay.
As long as IDC includes all of that match, and IDC might not, then for Ready One. Correct?
Okay.
And then for Ready Two, you're all aware of the projects for Ready Two as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would be good if you went over those.
Okay. So we have the regional business incubator in Attica. We have that project. That was awarded 2 million in Ready funds and 4 million in LEI funds. Your 1-to-1 match is the 6 million and your 3-to-1 is 18 million. And I have received previous commitments for those matches from Lawton. Yes, so I have that documentation as well too. Then we have the reserve, which is 800,000, and Shepherd Landing. And I've been working with Jeff Curtis on that project as well too.
I had someone ask me a question. I don't know if you have the answer to this question. But how can you put up a building you don't have control over or have any rights to because it's not been sold? How can you put that building up as collateral towards a grant?
You can, are you talking about the match?
As a match?
If it has not been built, it's not been last.
It's built. It's an old building.
Is it being donated to?
Nope, it's for sale. It wasn't at the time that it was used as part of the application process, but can you do that?
I don't believe so.
The building is for sale. Oh, I mean,
Not the incubator.
No.
No. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks. So my take on the whole thing is if we can go ahead and fund in 24, 25, or 25, 25, like 112.5, and then put it in the budget for 112.5 and 26, then that would spread that out.
I thought
Yeah.
work-wise, that would work. So we've already had our public hearing of the 225, so we can just.
We can just do that.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Thank you.
To get it out seated.
yeah, see that's. We, our balance on January 1st was 678,000. We're all budgeted 281 for this year, so I thought it was a way to take that.
So we need a motion to pay 112.5 in 2025 and 112.5.
I think we're just putting.
Well, yeah, well, but that,
Budget.
can't vote.
Right, we can't vote on it, that's right. Did we do 50 pay or 225 payable in 26 and 25 and 26? Can we state it that way? And
He says he doesn't.
no,
Yeah, I think we should just do that.
112,
And then
112.5.
we're committing that we'll budget 112.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Hey, did you get that, Kim? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So,
All right, I'm gonna move on to the health department building. We have an opportunity to move the health department to a different location.
Yeah.
That is going to work well for everyone involved. And I guess we'll just leave it at that. Purchasing a building from Von Heyman, the old B&B building in Attica, Petersburg. Selling it to us on contract for 10 years. We're gonna get all the paperwork figured out, but we will own it obviously after 10 years. And
Puts them at the center of the county.
any questions, I guess?
Can you give us a rundown on numbers as far as what we're paying right now in the lease, what the payment will be going forward? And
So without it fine tuning, it's without knowing interest exactly down to the T, we are looking at not spending any more money than we are right now. As far as rent goes. That makes sense. Actually, yeah.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the email I sent with the inspection? And the information? Okay,
Everything on there is he's going to fix before we move in.
and we get additional.
Yes.
half acre?
And the half acre
Yeah.
off
is
the,
there anything the health department needs done to the building to make it workable for them?
it is essentially, there's some cosmetic things that need to be done, but he's willing to fix the patches in the drywall. And I mean, there's minor things, but you could, I'm not gonna speak for you, you could move in tomorrow if you're happy.
Kind of choose to give it
And be going.
like to,
Yep.
stuff with in the, reception area for more privacy. But I think you said it's a non-living wall, so that would be a problem. But yes, essentially, if we have a new we can move in tomorrow.
Any other questions or concerns from anybody?
What are we paying for this building? $880,000?
350.
We only pay 18,000 in rent, so how can we not have any more money going out?
There's a renter. Tenant,
Oh, okay,
yes,
okay,
on the other half.
okay.
So the only issue I'm running into is he wants 10% out.
Which is 35,000.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't, the interest isn't half out, and at 8%, you're dealing with 2,300 a month, and half of it will be rented out to somebody paying 2,500, so. I guess with those numbers would be a negative. $200 a month.
Yes, Roger.
Just to make sure we got our covered, do you know the history of the building? Has there been any environmental issues? Do we need a phase one on that building, or has it been always offices or something?
It's always been an office. Health, who was in there before? What was- There was a medical office in there.
B&B.
And B&B before that, yeah.
Department of Family Services or.
There is a septic with a finger system, but the finger system sits on an adjacent property. We are actually going to connect to city utility.
The only question I have is, I've got everything down from the inspection that needs to be fixed, and the one concern was the powder deposit in the crawl space. So is he willing to take care of that?
I sent it to him and he hasn't got back with me. He made it sound like I don't know, what specifically was that?
It was moisture, and I don't know that it was, Taggart said it was mold, but it was a powdery deposit in the crawl space that could turn out to be mold. And it's the bottom, there's moisture down in it.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I can tell you, it was a deal breaker, you know, it's a fixer as well.
Yeah, I would think that he would want some sort of fill tile drainage around the perimeter of that building anyway to alleviate any moisture into the crawl space. And I would think that block vents need to be put on the east and west side of that building so there is adequate airflow. I would think. Other than that, I think a lot of that's just cosmetic changes, isn't it? The more I read. That was one of the major
Yeah,
for the water was. Because it appeared to be visqueened and pea gravelled underneath there. I don't know. That's what it appeared to be.
Yeah, I can definitely find that these are things that are gonna have to be dealt with.
he just said in his inspection, water migration from outside rains, white powder deposit on crawl space. And then he explained that kind of in detail, and that was where it's a health department, so I just don't want. You with me?
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll iron it out. Ethan,
yes.
I have faith in you.
My take on it, there was nothing on the inspection that was gonna, well, we better burn the building down.
No.
No.
Absolutely. That was just my only concern.
Hey,
So what was the big point?
he's,
When we do these, assuming the council's okay with funding it, and the way this will work is I'll have to get a contract together and we'll have it at a public hearing. I'll probably have it at a public hearing for the council and the commissioners and let everybody give their input, and then if we all get the green light, we'll sign it and out of that.
do they have funds in HFI for construction? Jenny, am I thinking?
We do have capital outlay, about 33,000.
Yeah. That's
Use
They
that for
could
down
use
payment.
that.
I don't think we can use it as a down.
Yeah.
Construction is the same as down payment.
Right.
Mhm.
But I like the concept of getting a contract, getting a public hearing, because we took a feeding on Maple Corner for buying that. The public said they weren't given the chance to talk about it. And I won't vote to move forward until the public gives us comments about it, because we took a lot of flack into that.
I agree.
What was the constraint you said HFI has to be used for improvement?
They said construction.
I don't think you can use 8 to 5
For down payment.
You know, some improvement to the situation. Right.
I have to read it again. I forget what it said exactly.
Mhm. Okay.
Thank you. Move on to Riga contract. Kim, I think everybody knows Kim. Moving forward with them as our representative for economic development. See the contract, I don't know. I got it. Got it right there, yeah. 150,000 a year. Ethan, did you look over this?
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I would like to talk to Wiga about.
Yep.
Under item 3, the inflation escalation. I would love if that will be there.
Yep.
And then it seems to me, at least the prior contract we had, the county had some sort of security. I think it was worthless, it was maybe worth a few dollars, but there was something tangible that you could say, hey, at least we have a sharing part of this, that disappeared. And I'm not too fond of the 6-month written notice. Although I understand with nonprofits and government entities, everybody moves slow. in 6 months' time, just be what it takes to get your affairs in order.
Even, I was wondering if you were able to do one. I'm open to sending anything you have on it. I think it was a year before, so we hacked it, you know what I mean? Like that's basically what we did, so any of that stuff is completely open to. Okay, good. Perfect.
I'm going to address, something that was sent to me in an email. Just so everybody is aware, Kim Callwhite is a consultant for WEGA and separately a consultant for the town of Petersburg. And just to make that clear, so I'm sure she's going to do an excellent job, and she has assured us that she will be transparent and forthcoming with the county about any work that she will be doing for us. And I trust that she will do that. Anything that we get from Kim is probably going to be a breath of fresh air from the previous, and I appreciate that. Kim is going to be as transparent as possible, so much so that she sent to me in an email this right here. In an effort to support transparency and best practices and responsible collaboration in our shared economic development efforts, I'm providing the following overview of essential laws and ethical guidelines relevant to anyone working in economic development roles across the state of Indiana. This summary outlines key legal frameworks and expectations around funding, incentives, land use, and professional conduct when engaging with multiple jurisdictions, projects, and public-private partnerships. To me, this says a lot towards what Kim's goals are for our relationship and her relationship with WEGA and her relationship with our county. She has went so far to send to me and the council exactly her thoughts on transparency and working in economic development with economic development professionals. And I personally appreciate that. Thank you, Kim.
Say she said that to the council.
No, I'm not. I'll take care of it. You want me to finish with what I'm doing? Do public comment?
Yeah. Well,
Or you want to do public hearing?
no, do the hearings.
Okay, let's do it. We can't until he makes the changes.
I'm good to make the changes with the contract and maybe as long as we get the weekend thing figured out. We're gonna, okay.
We'll just wait for you to do your changes and then we'll move forward with it. I'd like to open the public hearing for the additionals at 7:25 p.m. This would be for the part-time nurse using HI5 funds, creating a new line item in the amount of $10,000. Do you have any comments or concerns or questions? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing at 7:26 p.m. Can I get a motion on approving the additionals for the part-time nurse using HFI funds with a new line item?
Make a motion.
Aye.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Sure. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
7-0.
Yep. All right, we're gonna open up the public hearing. 7:24. PM 20.
I think you're trying.
We'll go with that clock. 7:27. What do you got? Oh, okay. Let's use that one. It's fine. 7:27. 7:27. PM. Comment on the rezoning.
I'm not sure what this is for. Did we talk about this?
We talked about it last meeting, but I can give a brief overview if need be. Dan, you want me to go back over it again?
No, not if there's any public comment. I mean, you can't.
It's
It's the rezoning of a parcel 11.79 acres on US Highway 41, north of Petersburg, parcel number 23-08-30-202-001.000-017, from agriculture zone to business zone to allow for a retail vac truck sales business to purchase the property and be built on site.
Any comment?
We got a public comment sheet there. Go ahead, Sue.
I can get this stuff down so I don't forget what I want to say. First of all, I want to say that I have nothing against Mr. Cole at all. The zoning ordinance is a law regulating how the land can be used within certain geographical zones. Fountain County has 5 districts: agricultural, business, industrial, landfill, and residential. The agricultural district is for the areas that cannot feasibly be served with public water and sewage facilities. The district will preserve and protect agricultural land from undesirable urban growth while permitting limited residential development on large-scale lots that provide adequate space for private water and sewage facilities. The business district is limited to business and certain public uses. By establishing compact districts for such uses, more efficient traffic movement, parking facilities, fire protection, and police protection may be provided. So going back to the agricultural district areas that cannot feasibly be served with municipal water and sewage facilities. Fountain Central High School was built back in 1965. 60 years ago, and Petersburg still has not been able to provide municipal water and sewage to this area. I feel this speaks volumes too. Will they ever be able to provide these facilities north of Interstate 74? Commercial businesses need municipal facilities and not jeopardize the rural water supply. We do need to look ahead into the future like the comprehensive plan does. This vacuum truck business could very well turn into a business that could affect the rural lifestyle. As an example, US Highway 41 and Stone Bluff Road is currently a used car lot. It was previously an auto body shop for many years, then a pallet business. In recent weeks, I have found this business to be a safety issue, being unable to see the pull out on US Highway 41 because of too many vehicles on the lot and too close to the road. I feel commercial business on US Highway 41 would put residents' safety at risk with more truck traffic. The vehicle speed in the area of proposed building site is much more than 65 miles an hour. We personally find ourselves wondering when we will be trying to pull into our property. There is development currently on the south side of Attica with 3 current businesses and 1 new one in the building stages. These are areas that need to be developed where public facilities can easily be provided to businesses. Petersburg and Covington also have the areas available for business development. I think the county government should encourage businesses to build close to municipal infrastructure with tax abatements and etc. I recently have been reviewing the solar ordinance draft March 2025. The first item being proposed of the ordinance, I find some good key points under number 2. Meet the goals of the community as expressed in the Fountain County Comprehensive Plan, including protecting farmland to preserve its agricultural use, maintain aesthetics for the preservation of the rural character in the unincorporated areas, and protect associated agricultural heritage, and support the growth of agriculture is a vital implement of economic development. The Fountain County zoning ordinance is law. If you do not follow the law, my question is, why do we have zoning? Myself and 15 other local residents request is a denial for the rezoning of agriculture, commercial, for property located at 688 North West Highway 49, Petersburg. I do not have a legal parcel number.
Susie, I have a question. Did you say in your statement that you didn't think Fountain Central had sewage?
No, they do not.
They do.
They do?
Yeah, Petersburg ran it out there about 15 years ago.
Yeah, we did. No, we just did sewage. Yeah. Just.
But you know, they're not going over 41 or 74. That'd be way too expensive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I speak on the economic development?
Does it pertain to this rezoning, Bill?
Well, kind of, because you're kind of trying to do away with what's already in the law as far as the agricultural.
Well, let's get through this, Bill, and then during public comment.
Okay, I don't have an agenda, so I.
Oh, okay, yeah, there'll be a public comment.
Thank you.
After these.
Any other public comment?
I just tried to do that, so remember, in God, he rests afterwards, and all that kind of stuff, as nobody's been addressed. When you gave the planning commission.
Well, obviously, we paused too much involved with the state until we understand whether or not we're going to proceed properly. So we don't even know at this point if that's going to be an option for us to do. So once we have the understanding that it's green light, then we'll move forward with the requirements that's set by the planning commission. That to me was an understanding that, you know, with the understanding that you will do this, that the various requirements. So to pursue that beforehand, I think it's a bit premature, but we don't even know at this point, probably is going to be that before it's hold on. Now, we're going to talk about that just for a second. Andrew Clodholder with the Back Source. Son-in-law Jack Bowman is the founder and owner of the company. I serve as the COO of the company. You know, so I'm a rural guy. I grew up 12 miles south of Covington, you know, rural area. Not a town in sight, kind of driving right to bus to school. I get it. I also understand that there was a good statistic given one of the previous meetings we've been to on the number of people driving to Danville for work. Number of people driving to Crawfordsville for work, Montgomery County, Vermilion County, all that work going outside the county. The bottom line is we have limited opportunity within our towns to build. So it's not as if we're building out in the middle of a county somewhere. You know, we're literally up against the development zone for Petersburg, right? I mean, like the next property. So it's not we went 3 miles this way and 4 miles that way. We are against the Petersburg property. So it's not as if we're trying to put a black eye in the county. It's not at all. It's going to be a beautiful building. I showed you pictures, at least conceptually. It's not going to be a lot of traffic. We deal with. One time we have 4 or 5 trucks on, in our property, meaning most of them inside the building. They're not going in and out every day. There's not a lot of traffic through the area. So I think it's misperception, about the business, but I understand, respect, also know our feelings. I get it, but I understand. Also understand what we do to let the county grow. Agriculture is certainly a big part of this county. There are other jobs that will be the good kind of open our arms. Yeah, fortunately, we're able to sell a truck to the Covington here. So, we're already involved in the community with local business. Did I say something? Oh, I'm sorry. Most of these heard me before about what the plan was on the building on the business on your name. So Bruce Martin. And Cause on my property, I have 64 acres, but almost up to the south, I'll be on the south side of the river. Building we're talking about. This business site, but the thing I haven't heard of it anyway, because apparently it's like 11 acres, it's supposed to be on this, and then there was mention in the Young County zoning board that they were gonna make some sort of variance of like 3 acres was what they would need in order to do their business, which is, you know, I'm you know, not kind of right against the young man or the, you know, who want businesses and all, but my concern was there's still 8 acres. And then what's gonna be done with that later on? And how many more businesses is that gonna possibility of it entail? It's like saying, you know, I worked my whole life for what little bit I got. And my 64 acres, mostly woods, and use it for, like I saw my cash ran out, and then about 6 acres off, the rest of it, you know, I hunt, and it's one of my passions, and food plots and this and that and the other, and if you know, you see one business and then you get another, and then another, then another, you know, then my property just right off of 41. You know, and if you get people, if it's supposed to be, you know, it looks like from what I'm gathering, just read between the line at 28 and 41 is going to be the highway where business is going to be allowed to bring in their, and in some places it wouldn't probably affect, but you know, like where me, you know, I don't want businesses, you know, right up against my property line, or, and who knows what could, you know, if you start one in this and then it snowballs. Yes, that's my concern.
That's what. Yeah, right.
So the ABC had to consider this, and you guys have to consider too, whether or not the rezoning fulfills a public need for the type of land use. Is the rezoning appropriate in the area requested, or if the public interest would be better served by rezoning another area of the jurisdiction? Whether the new land use will complement the present and future traffic flows, or would the rezoning cause an adverse impact? Whether adequate parking would be provided if the rezoning request is granted, and whether potential inconveniences and nuisances such as noise, light, odors, etc. of the rezoning request on the adjacent landowners have been adequately considered, and whether there are adequate public utilities, water, sewer, electric, and services available to the land if rezoned. And then there's an overarching theme of, does this comply with whatever comprehensive plan we have in place or will have in place? Actually, says we can have in place. I was at the APC meeting. The APC can do 3 things with it. They can give it to you guys and say, no, we don't approve of this. They can give it to you guys and say, yeah, we approve of this. Or they can give it to you and say nothing, which is what they did. They just said, well, we're not 100% sure. And I think the biggest holdup is this parcel was 11 and some odd acres that they want to rezone, but the part that they actually needed was 3 acres and some change, give or take. So I think after discussion, they just decided, well, we'll leave it up to you guys. No, yeah, I mean, they're the people who were there.
We never came to a conclusion on making a recommendation.
Right, so it goes up with no recommendation.
I think Brad, great. Something. Yeah.
I just wondered, having had over 15 businesses in the county, I was always told you could do about anything on agricultural. Is the new county zoning ordinance changed that? Or Roger, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's a nuance. Look, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of money to be spent fighting over our ordinance, but it had to do with whether or not these trucks are commercial versus just your run-of-the-mill vehicles. And somewhere along the line, somebody decided, these back trucks are commercial, so we had to do rezone instead of because the ordinance does allow agriculture to have stuff for cars and trucks, I guess, so instead of for commercials.
Just wondered.
Yes, there's a lot of room there.
That's what I told
you. This is easily finding out about.
But it is, on zoning matter, and that I'm talking about this,
No, that's what I meant.
Right.
But agriculture, you've got a lot of leads there too. That's been my experience.
Certain things are, there is a tip.
Yeah, I mean, I built
Well-
course and
There's like 28 things, maybe 30 on agriculture, elevators, just all kinds of different things. If you look at our statute, this wouldn't fall underneath. What's except, no, it does not. That does not fall under what would be acceptable for agricultural use. That's why it has to be rezoned.
Any other public comment?
I do have one comment. I'm Sue Bentley, so I've been representing both sides of this for a very, very long time. The property was listed back in, the beginning of September, so, you know, anybody up to the point that they have been under contract could have put in an offer for it. I will say that after talking to Petersburg, because I've been in contact with them, because we were originally told, and it did show on the original map that it was in the Petersburg, which I stated before, that it was in the Petersburg fringe. So somewhere along the lines of when they got the maps from Petersburg and then they were digitalized, well, it moved to the south side of Gary Pate's property, so that's just one property south of that. But up to that point, and since I talked to, who was on the board with Petersburg again today, they were going to approve the variance. They had already been to, Jack had been to some meetings, I had been to several, I think Rob had been to some. We presented this several times, and I think your top of employees right now are about 7 to 10 is what you are expecting. So Petersburg had all of that. They were going to approve it based on everything. We not tried to buy something, or I'm not buying anything. They've not tried to buy anything and just slip something in. We've tried to go through every avenue that we're supposed to go through, that they are supposed to go to. So it was 2 weeks prior to when the meeting was supposed to be with Petersburg, where they were going to approve it, that line moved to the county and no longer the Petersburg fringe. However, it is 1.8 miles from where the Petersburg fringe is at. So there's still that little bit of discrepancy there. I do know what the maps say now, that they are online, but at that point they were not online. And so there are a few other businesses that are there besides the car lot. There's something with the CNS trash service, I believe. I'm not exactly certain about that. I know that there's a church within less than a quarter of a mile, I would say. So it's not like it is out in just the middle of nowhere where it's been just nothing but residential or farmland. There are other businesses that are close to that area. There are. Well, I knew there's some on the south side of 74, so that's going to be what was that?
On the south side.
Yes, but then you've got the next one that we talked about, and again, the next one that we talked about then is the car lot. That's and then the church is right here.
And that's been there for over 6 years.
Yeah, but that was great opposition, kind of a new thing that had been pilot taking them out. The trash.
Yeah, I just looked this up, it says Fountain County zoning ordinance allows for some commercial activities in agricultural zones. This is from Government of Indiana website, Indiana.gov. Typically as special exceptions or conditional uses, these may include agribusiness operations such as farm equipment sales, seed supply, or grain storage that directly support agricultural activities. Agritourism facilities like farm tours, youth pick operations, or seasonal events that offer educational or recreational experiences related to agriculture. Home-based businesses, small-scale enterprises operating from a residence, provided they do not alter the property's residential character.
He's commercial, he has nothing to do with farm agriculture. Had it to do with some of your back systems.
Sure. Yeah, there's application component. One thing I have shot is dealing with Rob Dawson, like he bought the property right adjacent to us, is working with the state for commercial will be a little different because you got to get an exit or a approval to get a driveway there. Right.
And that would be your number one priority, because Dawson never could get he wanted the same circle that we got right away here, but he never could get the state to approve the exit on the other 136, so when you're dealing with the state on that kind of stuff, it can be kind of tricky and it can be a pain, so. I don't know if you talked to them or not.
Yeah, we've had some conversation, we just haven't dug in on that, because we weren't sure.
I mean, that'd be the number one priority though, they gotta have an entrance exit.
Right. You know, we didn't want to put the lake, you know, frankly, we didn't want to put the lake work behind that, to find out we can't go over there, you know, so.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, you're exactly right.
And that's what Dawson found out, like, I mean, they worked for a year before, and he never could get to Semicircle Drive because they would not do the meeting on 136. Up there towards Hendrick's place, so without with a semicircle out, he had the easement on the back side of our property. Because they just wouldn't give it to me, right? And then of course, Larry found out when he tried to say that was agricultural, you'll see he's got a concrete drive now because the state came in and said, that's not agricultural, that's commercial, and he had to put a concrete drive in, sorry.
And Roger, you did the engineering review of this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall it?
Yes.
Did you have any issues with it?
I did not see any issues from an engineering perspective. My caveat was make sure that you get an access from NDOT. And I think that an access is possible to do NDOT. But again, I understand the buyers, the investors' perspective. Why would I engage anybody to pay money to go talk to NDOT if I don't know if I can go there or not?
Okay, closing public comment at 7:47. Motion. Well, we'll just start with a motion to approve rezoning. What's your thoughts? Yeah, I'm not for it. Is there a reason? It's not.
Nope.
Okay. Speaking out loud, like I said, it's right next to the Viersburg Fringe. It's right on Highway 41. NDOT approves it. I don't. I don't see why we should hinder it if NDOT would approve it. So I'll make the motion to approve the rezone. Right, I'm a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Against? Nay. 2-1. You guys on transfers.
Transfers. Auditor. From postage. From postage, $17.50 to dues and subscriptions for the same amount. Can I get a motion to approve the transfer? Dudley? May I get a second? Jack Parker. All in favor, say aye. 7-0. Okay, council. Adequate economic development member. We discussed this at our meeting in regards to when Mr. Jed Bars came and spoke that they were going to form a committee for their economic development. And they needed a council designee for that committee.
Did they do it at the council meeting?
We told them.
No, I thought they had to approve first. And then
I don't know if they did or not.
So he said that it was going to be brought up at their council meeting.
I will find out and we can
We can make a motion pending that they approve
it at their next meeting.
First time. Yes.
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 They didn't approve of that.
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
I second.
What?
Designate.
Jim McKee moved to appoint Kelly Carlson and seconded by Denise Crowder to the Economic Development Yeah, the Attica Economic Development Commission Board, whatever they're gonna call it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
6-0. Jessica Anderson, is she here? Okay.
All right. Bill, public comment. You're up.
Economic development for this county is vital. Our tax situation is critical. And, you know, for everybody that owns a home matter, you think have equal rights to people who own farm and basically pays the brunt of the taxes in this county. We're supposed to be fair to everybody. We're supposed to do right for what is good for this county. We need economic development. Solar is legal as part of agriculture. The state wants it, the federal government wants it. It will provide millions of dollars for this county. Millions. You got people up there every single meeting wanting you to give them millions. Because they want a new barn so they can store their utilities in, and suddenly got great bus, you know, a whole lot bigger in price because they want, well, now we want to work out, we need a shower, restroom, all this other stuff. You know how it goes, things just get more expensive, and I'm not saying they shouldn't get that stuff. You have an opportunity. It's our land. I've got people here tonight that are involved with the Hexagon. Usually you just listen to me. Okay, if they want to say something, they're more welcome to say something. But we've debunked about every negative thing that they come up with on these solar farms. The last one I heard in one of these meetings was about, oh, the value of my property is going down. I was late coming to a meeting or something because it was advertised wrong, and I passed out this Loyola University out of Chicago report. Did any of you read it?
I would be.
Okay. And it clearly states that, and this was done in the Midwest, not New Jersey, not California, all the states in the Midwest for large scale solar farms. And it clearly states, and this was published in 2024, looked at property values surrounding 70 utility scale solar projects in the Midwest and found they actually had a minor positive effect, increasing values 0.5 to 2%. While the impact itself of a few $1,000s might not be incredibly meaningful, clearly, these projects drive economic development in rural communities through jobs, taxes, contributions, etc. All right. Now, naturally, the neighbors all got up in arms over things that they didn't really understand and know what the truth is about. But you've got two companies that you've all agreed they're here, they're going to stay here. One's development, one's another. All you have to do is give them, all they're asking is a 10-year tax abatement that they're going to throw. Ranger's going to throw get this number right, because I said it wrong the first time, $7.8 million your way. And Dalton's going to pay $32 million your way to use however you want. Baker Tilly made a report giving you the facts on how much economic improvement this county would have given these tax abatements. Okay. I know if any of these other guys want to speak, then fine, but I know everybody standing there or everybody seated here, it's our land, people. It's legal. How many of you want to raise your hand and give up your rights to your land? I have to make a living the best way I can. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tell you know what it costs for a combine, $1 million. You know, yeah. You know what the price of corn was this year? There wasn't any money made this year in farming. How you gonna make that up? You know, if you're on a fixed income, how you gonna make that up when you get everything that happens is for the majority of the voices? Okay, just like all the homes, even my home, I got like a $20 deduction in my property tax this year on my home. And that's everybody in the county. Well, guess what? Last year, I'm not talking about total, I'm talking about my increase on property tax on my farm. Went up $1,007. This year it went up another $900. That's where you people go to get your money. Well, you know, there's not very many of them, so we'll just go ahead and put the tax, your state government has just announced another property tax thing. Somewhere that void has got to be filled for you to make a budget and survive in this county. Where are you going to get it? It's through economic development, and it's staring you in the face. It's there, people. Take advantage of it.
Anyone else?
Yeah. David Jenkins. What is the government ever done anything to this? If the government is telling me to do something, should you do it or should you run? As far as crops, yeah, they're bad. They've always been bad. Why not? Because the government's controlling it. They're putting you in a fund and they're chasing you right where they want you. Where does this store money come from? Coming from us, it comes from our tax money that somebody else is going. We go and get our business and we get a government grant, so we get the government money so we can go out on public land and do what you want. Yes, it's your land. It's your land, you're right. But that land you're talking about affects all of us, because you are putting something in our area. It is just look here, you're not planting a plant, you're planting a store array. Not something that's harvested every year. You're talking about planting a industrial power plant over everywhere. And when they decide that public utility is theirs, the government is going to then go, well, I want that property, and that property, and that property. And what say do I have? Because you said yes, I won't have a say. I have a say now, and I'm saying no.
You are entitled to your opinion.
You're right, I know.
I'm paying my taxes. They didn't even have a right to know.
I pay my taxes as well. The problem is here. I'm looking for what's in my wallet. I'm looking where my grandkids are gonna have to put up with. What kind of pile of shit they're gonna have to dig out. This is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my grandkids.
He's got the floor, he can speak.
I get by ordinance. Has our government ever done anything right for us? Our local government is the only thing we got control of. The federal government is out of control. And to think that we're gonna get any money back without strings attached, we're a fool. A fool.
Any motion to close? I'll make a motion to close.
We're not
So-
closing yet. I mean, I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead, sorry, Dudley.
Ethan, have you had a chance to look at the documents on the bonds?
Do I have them? Okay, we're waiting on somebody at the big firm to maybe.
Yeah, he's trying to pull everything.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But
Because we're getting close to that, I mean, June first.
I contacted him again today.
Okay.
let me ask you this, do we have them around here somewhere?
I've
Yeah.
never seen, I,
Colleen and I kind of looked for him, but
okay.
Yeah, all I did is say, hey, can someone find it, and you got hold of someone down there, and I forgot.
And I don't know the legislation that's passed, because I haven't talked to Matt Collins, but.
Oh, I got you. And that legislation specifically, Taylor, it has to be an EMS lit, right? And it can only be spent on EMS?
Well, the way the legislation, the amendment was made was that one-time shot, we can take money from the special lit and put it into EMS.
It has to be EMS though.
EMS, but EMS budget's $2 million. That, you know, we can do that. That frees up $2 million to help pay for a county highway garage without having to do a bond. And then also, then we can change, right now, I think it's 0.55 is the special lit rate. We can change that. We changed that, provided our bonds let us. We changed that to 0.20 for EMS and changed the special lit to 0.35. It's no increase.
How much is in special lit?
And special lit's got 7
million, right?
Yeah.
How much is the bond to pay off?
Well, I don't think we want to pay it off.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, but it's bringing in $2.4 million a year, and our bond payment's 1.1. So if we change that special lit 0.35, it's going to bring in 1.4 million, which is going to pay the bonds. And change the EMS to 0.20 will bring in close to $1 million. So we move even 5 million from the special lit, plus put $1 million in that every year, 6 million. That takes care of 3 years budget for EMS without having to touch county general funds, which could be put towards the county highway. But it all depends on, I mean, the amendment, Matt was sure was going to pass, but it will only be good if our bonds do not say that we cannot make any changes.
Is that what they're proposing? Is it have to be combined, or could we still do the one-time pull, even if we can't reach the rate?
Yes, we can do we can do both. We can do one-time pull plus change the rate, or we can just do a one-time pull and not do the rate, but we might as well
do both.
Do both.
Depending on what our balance.
Yeah, all depends on. So.
And it has to be EMS lit.
And we can't do an EMS lit after June 1st to take effect for next year. Yeah, I think that's.
But it has to be EMS lit if we.
It has to be EMS lit.
Yeah, we can't do like a 911 or.
No.
Okay.
Does the that lit 911 jail, whatever you want to call it, what is it going towards?
Special lit can only be used for the bond payments
in jail,
or like that grinder. If you do a major project at the jail,
they can't
use it. Not properly.
Yeah, nothing else.
It has to be a capital. We change the windows or something. You do special lit, but you can't use it for the operation.
If they added pods onto that jail, could it be used for that?
Well,
attached to
that's, I was told if we, I mean, and this was a previous legislator, but she checked into it and said if we added on to the jail for 911, you could use your special lit for that. That it has to be added on to the building.
It's not a jail purpose. 911 and the jail separate. That's the issue.
Two different departments.
I mean, we look at that on time, but it all going to depend on what our bond payments, our bond documents say.
Then we have to have this by June 1st, right?
Well, we want to put on an EMS for next year, in fact, January 1st.
Now,
have to approve that by June 1st. But the one-time transfer, we have until the end of the year, way the legislation.
and this would be separate from our little buckets, right? Our little pots that stuff goes in, there's different rays, I forget what they call it.
Right, yes. Right.
Well, that's going to change.
The EMS is like the public safety and the seated funds.
Right.
It's a special rate. And I don't know if EMS, public safety and seated, we have shared with the cities and towns.
Right.
But I don't know about EMS. I would assume it's probably the same thing we have to share.
Would be separate from our. Because they were talking in the SB one, those little, they call them buckets. That's all gonna change. All those little buckets won't be there anymore.
Like special lid, like public safety and seated.
It's now going to be, your county services will be 1.2. This is all gonna be implemented beginning in 2028.
Okay.
So your county services will be 1.2, your fire protection and EMS services will be 0.4. And then you're going to have, and it can't be any more than 2.9, so that stays the same. And it will require annual adoption to renew the expenditure rate, so every year we have to do that. It eliminates local income tax for property tax replacement credits. And allows a maximum of 0.3 for homestead property tax relief and eliminates local income tax councils. So
I know with public safety, I've read that and seen it. Once we did it, it stays on, but I have heard that part of one was that we have to do that
every year, yeah, these are on the cheat sheets.
And I would assume that's the same way with our 0.01 that we did for the covered bridges. And we did that one time and rescinded it, stays in effect, but that will probably be another way that will happen.
So this EMS lit we're thinking of proposing, is that, can we do that if they're having us do this 0.4? Can it be in addition to?
It might go to 0.4 in 2028.
Yeah.
You could probably do that.
At 0.2 now.
Sit all 0.8. And who knows, next year's legislators may change that.
Again, right.
Then-
We'll get all this down on the,
But it all depends what's gonna happen on that unless. we
Right.
Do that with bonds.
Nothing's gonna happen on that unless we're gonna see the bond out high.
Okay.
I wonder what would happen if we don't get it by then, should we just pass it and then?
I think they were gonna pass it.
Two statements and.
We did pass ordinance anyway, so just we find out, we should have what to say.
Yeah, but if we pass it, then, then we have to do it. And
That would increase the
Yeah.
taxpayer.
that's right, see, because we wanna lower the special lit, so it's no increase for tax rate. That's a net. And if we pass that 0.20 and then they. They wanted it, yeah, whatever we leave our 0.95 and then we're gonna put it on. Votes. This is gonna take $1 million out of the public's pockets, we don't wanna do this.
Okay, I have just a couple of quick notes and then we'll close the meeting out. I talked to you about Baker Tilly, trying to get them here to talk to us. Tim's gonna work on that. In the meantime, I'm working on getting the webinar approved and get it to everybody. If you'd like to look at it here as a group or a small group, if we can do it, if you're interested, let me know. District meeting, there's a district meeting for the council. It is on May 15th in Putnam County at DePaul from 5:30 to 8:15. It's a great opportunity to hear legislative commentary as well as network with fellow county officials. You can share your experiences and practices that address local challenges we are all going to face. I encourage everyone to go if they can. Also, there is a budget and finance 1 class prior to that meeting from 1 to 4. If you're interested in either one of those, let Kim know. She'll get you signed up.
That's what I'm gonna ask, you'll take care of the planning stuff. I know.
Yeah, just let me know for sure.
I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go too.
Is it a Wednesday?
It is a Thursday. Thursday evening.
It's a budget.
The budget and finance will be right prior to that from 1 to 4. I'm going to try and go to that too because I'm sure they'll talk about SB1.
Larry, real quick.
I sent an email link to.
Yep.
Did everyone receive?
I've not forwarded on yet, but I will, yes.
Okay, that was sort of not at date, but, anyway, but there's a documentary that I have sent him the link, and I'm not sure how it will happen now. But it will be available, continuing to be available. But I'm not sure that link will work. I'll have to look into that. But the link to the documentary is on the CO2 pipeline that is going through, that they were working on trying to get through South Dakota, and it is coming through Indiana. So, they want it to come through. And there is, information regarding that particular project, that would be very helpful that you guys know about, and I would like for all of you to listen to it. It would be very good for you to see how the workings are happening, not only for CO2, but also for solar. So, same way, if you would watch for that, I'll see about getting it, and make sure that that's still.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, the next council meeting is Monday, May 12th at 9 a.m.
We're the 5th at 9 in the morning.
I need a motion to close the county council.
19, we're gonna have a joint meeting again.
Yeah, are we gonna do that on the 19th? We tried to.
It's up to you guys. We're gonna be here. Yeah, we'll be here. So that's good.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
no,
this is good.
Yeah, me too. So we'll have a joint meeting on
May 19th.
May 19th. I assume that's a Monday. If not, someone please
Yeah.
correct me.
Yeah.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Tim McKee, 6 p.m.
Poor Jen.
This morning.
I
Okay, I make a motion to close the county. Can I get a motion to close the county council meeting?
Second.
Dudley and Denise, all in favor, say aye.
Motion to close the commissioners meeting. I'll make a motion. I'll second. All in favor. Aye. Aye. 2-0.
Thank you, everybody.